It's the holiday season, a magical time, one to show the people you love that you care. And that might mean finding them the perfect gift, but
the debit card and the credit card,
let's face it,
those things will just keep going and going.
That can be expensive. Welcome to Chicago, this city bustling with holiday shoppers during a time of year where it is easy to rack up debt.
Debt seems like almost a constant way of life.
This week we're looking at everything debt. From credit cards to loans, we're looking at ways to avoid the burden so you can actually enjoy the holidays. This is The Race. Welcome to The Race. I'm Chris Stewart, and this week we're in Chicago and we're talking about debt. Americans just set a record holding a collective $14 trillion in debt. And yes, this time of the year it is very expensive. A lot of people are out holiday shopping, but debt is a year-round problem. But a family here in Chicago is proving it does not have to be forever. 10 years ago, Aja McClanahan didn't think she'd be living here, on Chicago's South Side. It also seemed like her family would always be in debt.
It was a mountain that I did not think we could ever tackle.
And we're not just talking a little bit.
It was over $120,000. I would say that everything started with those pesky student loans. That was the bulk of our debt, $60,000 between the two of us. And then the rest of our debt, another $60,000, was a mixture of consumer debt like car notes and credit cards and miscellaneous like, medical bills and things like that.
But this family decided debt wasn't going to define them forever.
I remember when I had my first child, my daughter, I knew I wanted to stay home with her, but when I ran the numbers between bills, rent, debt repayment, student loans, we cannot make this work.
Were you guys budgeting before?
No, we weren't. We just spent money as it came in, and whatever we spent it on is whatever we spent it on.
They made sacrifices, and that included a move from the suburbs to this part of Chicago, where they inherited a home from a family member no one else wanted.
First night we were there, we were like, this is the stupidest thing we've ever done in our lives. Because it was so noisy, just the urban soundscape.
They fixed it up, settled in, and made it their home without paying a mortgage or rent. And after about 8 years of strict spending, side hustles, and chipping away,
final balance was like $1,700 for like a student loan or something like that. And I remember making the payment and calling my husband like, we're debt free.
A success story, one she now tries to help others achieve.
I find that a lot of people become really hopeless, especially around the holidays, when you're expected to have money to go out, to go to parties, to exchange gifts. And for some people, they feel very powerless and out of control because, they don't have money.
Because while money isn't everything, it can impact more than just a bottom line.
Money touches every part of our lives, and that if you can fix that money thing, you can just get back more control.
Many Americans are going into debt just trying to get by, and Thomas Hoppe found that the struggle is more common than you may expect.
So we really define energy poverty as just the inability to pay for energy bills, which is a basic need that every household has.
Debt is affecting our country so much that nearly a third of households in the United States have struggled to pay their energy bills. According to a new Experian report, Americans have an average of $6,506 in credit card debt. Middle-class life is now 30% more expensive than it was 20 years ago. A full 23% of Americans say they use their credit cards to pay for necessities like rent, food, and utilities. According to an Energy Information Administration report, 31% of households have trouble paying energy bills. This is what's called energy poverty. In that report, 1 in 5 households had to reduce or forego food, medicine, and other necessities to pay their energy bill. Of that, 7 million face that decision nearly every month.
And so we want to ensure that families have light and heat in their homes, and if they can't afford it, then that's our goal, is to help.
Jennifer Gremmert is the Executive Director of Energy Outreach Colorado.
It's a large problem. We estimate 1 in 4 Colorado families struggle to pay their energy bills on an annual basis. And so we see this as an urban issue, a rural issue, mountain communities, pretty much everywhere we see in Colorado.
Her organization helps those who can't pay for what they believe is one of the top needs for those who are struggling with debt. All of this is based on household size and income.
Every state has some sort of energy assistance through the LIHEAP program, or LEAP as it's known in Colorado, and there's nonprofits like us all over the country that are providing this support. We think of the utility bill as top of the stack in addition to rent. It's one of those bills that has to be paid. So we really want to provide this assistance so people don't have to go without, or they don't have to go into other means of paying bills like using credit cards or things like that.
For The Race, I'm Thomas Hoppo reporting.
It can be hard to understand just how much debt Americans carry when we talk about such big numbers. Annie Taylor has some facts on debt and is putting it into terms that we can visualize.
Chris, let's start with some good news. Our partners at PolitiFact found that household debt is more manageable than it used to be. Household debt includes things like mortgages, car loans, credit card debt, and even student loans. Experts told PolitiFact household debt as a percentage of income has followed a pattern. This debt rose through the 90s until the Great Recession started. Then it took a steep downturn. Today, it's the lowest in more than 40 years. Americans are taking on more debt overall, with mortgages and student debt making up the bulk of it. But experts told PolitiFact household debt isn't growing as fast as disposable income and gross domestic product. They say that makes higher debt levels more manageable. PolitiFact also found that changing borrowing habits could be at play. Subprime mortgages are down since the Great Recession. In fact, today, most mortgages go to people with a 760 credit score or higher. One area of potential concern is subprime auto lending. It's almost as common as just before the recession. Credit card debt is improving too. Fewer people are making late payments, especially if you compare that to right before the recession. I'm Annie Taylor for The Race.
Debt can have a big impact on your life no matter where you live in the United States. Todd Hansen hit the road to a random city to find out just how much of a role debt can play.
This week brought us to Canton, South Dakota, a town of about 3,100.
Canton United Methodist Church, this is Sarah. How may I help you?
Sarah Woods has battled debt her entire adult life, almost 2 decades.
Debt seems like almost a constant way of life.
But life, some might argue, wasn't fair to Sarah.
Within 3 months, I got married, found out I had cancer, and also had our first child. So you take 3 of the biggest things that could possibly happen in your life and roll them into your early 20s. I mean, you're gonna start out on the wrong foot. And since then, it's just been one struggle after another.
Take my bag off.
I'll drop some at home and one at the bowling alley.
The care and feeding of 3 boys isn't cheap. Sarah says some months the pantry's been bare.
To actually have to reach out and say, no, we are personally struggling is a hard one.
This will go to anybody from, say, 1 to 4 people in the household.
Lori Pudens helps with the food pantry that's run out of the Canton Lutheran Church. Sarah says the pantry's been a huge blessing.
My opinion is nobody should go hungry, and that's what we're here for.
Sarah's husband is a machinist and she works full-time at the church, but it still hasn't been enough to overcome a mountain of debt that began with cancer at 19 years old.
I couldn't imagine having an extra $20 in my bank account that wasn't due to someone else.
Not all of Sarah's debt has come from being a victim of circumstances. She admittedly says she has made some very bad decisions.
Mrs. Jones down the street just got a new Lincoln, you might want one too, type thing.
But it didn't make you feel any better, did it?
No.
Dang it. It's too bad.
Yes, made me feel even worse because now I still have to pay it off.
But what has changed her life is a class on debt taught at the church where she works.
I can see light at the end of the tunnel. We're definitely getting there. I've been able to learn a lot of different life skills and really face my debts.
And after a full day of work,
I have to sit down.
Sarah goes to work at home.
This is actually Becky's Closet. It is a boutique plus-size business that I started up in March. The last few months have been tremendous for business. It has created Christmas for us.
In Canton, South Dakota, with photojournalist Darren Bailey, I'm Todd Hansen for The Race.
More to come. Stick with us. The race continues next.